Welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. Stay informed with quick, easy-to-listen summaries of our latest articles, perfect for when you're on the go. No reading required. Subscribe for free at mercola.com for the latest health insights.
Hello, and welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. I'm Ethan Foster, and today we're discussing how nutrient deficiencies affect type 2 diabetes. We'll look at vitamin D, magnesium, and vitamin B12, and explore how these nutrients shape insulin function and overall metabolic health. I'm joined by Ilara Sky, who's here to provide a clear, in-depth perspective on these issues. Thanks for joining me, Ilara.
Thank you for having me, Ethan. It's a pleasure to be part of this conversation. When we look at the rising prevalence of type 2 diabetes, we often think about factors like blood sugar control, diet, and medication. What's sometimes overlooked is how vital micronutrients are in managing this condition. Recent research highlights that deficiencies in nutrients like vitamin D, magnesium, and vitamin B12 can play a substantial role in making diabetes symptoms worse.
Exactly. One of the key findings comes from a meta-analysis published in BMJ Nutrition, Prevention and Health. This study looked at data from 52,000 type 2 diabetes patients and identified which deficiencies were most common. The goal was to see how these deficiencies varied across populations and how they affect insulin function and disease progression. According to the data, over 45% of participants had multiple micronutrient deficiencies. The most frequent one was vitamin D, affecting more than 60% of those studied.
That 60% figure for vitamin D deficiency is particularly concerning. Vitamin D does more than just support bone health. It's crucial for insulin sensitivity and function. When vitamin D levels are low, it affects how cells respond to insulin, making it harder to regulate blood sugar. In addition, a deficiency in vitamin D raises the risk of diabetic complications like retinopathy, kidney disease, and foot ulcers. Studies also show that vitamin D has immunomodulatory effects, meaning it supports immune function and reduces excessive inflammation.
Those complications, retinopathy, kidney disease, foot ulcers, are closely linked to vascular problems in diabetic patients. Low vitamin D seems to amplify these issues by weakening insulin action and potentially worsening inflammation. This is a key point because many people only associate vitamin D with preventing osteoporosis. They don't realize how important it is in regulating metabolism and bolstering tissue repair. For people with diabetes, making sure their vitamin D levels are at a healthy range is critical.
Indeed. Another major factor is magnesium deficiency, which came in as the second most common deficiency, affecting about 41.95% of patients in that study. Magnesium is required for more than 300 enzymatic processes in the body. In the context of diabetes, one of its most significant roles is supporting insulin signaling. When magnesium levels drop, it can worsen insulin resistance because optimal intracellular magnesium is key for proper insulin receptor function.
Researchers also point out a vicious cycle with magnesium and type 2 diabetes. Low magnesium intake can raise the risk of developing diabetes, and once diabetes sets in, the body tends to lose magnesium more rapidly through increased urination. This worsens insulin resistance and glycemic control. In other words, if someone with diabetes isn't getting enough magnesium, it can become harder to keep their blood sugar stable, which then leads to even lower magnesium levels.
And there's a similar concern with vitamin B12, which was the third most common deficiency in the study. Around 28.72% of participants dealt with B12 deficiency, primarily due to metformin usage. Metformin is a widely prescribed medication that reduces the absorption of vitamin B12. B12 is vital for nerve health and red blood cell formation. When levels dip, people can experience nerve damage, numbness in the hands and feet, and fatigue.
Given how common metformin is among diabetic patients, this is a big deal. B12 deficiency isn't always obvious in its early stages, but over time, it can contribute to significant complications. Some medical authorities now recommend that anyone on metformin for an extended period get their B12 levels checked regularly. The mechanism for this deficiency seems related to how metformin interacts with the body's calcium-dependent systems that help absorb vitamin B12 in the gut.
The study also notes that geographic location can influence deficiency rates. The highest prevalence of nutrient deficiencies among diabetic patients was reported in the Americas, with 54.04% showing at least one deficiency. Other regions, such as Southeast Asia, Europe, and the Eastern Mediterranean, also registered elevated deficiency rates, although not quite as high as in the Americas. Cultural dietary habits, the availability of certain foods, and lifestyle practices can all contribute to these differences.
This brings us to an essential point. Conventional diabetes care often focuses on bringing blood sugar levels down through medication. While that's important, it doesn't fully address underlying nutritional issues. When you have consistent deficiencies in vitamin D, magnesium, or B12, you're less likely to have stable insulin levels, a healthy immune system, or proper nerve function. In other words, controlling blood sugar alone may not be enough to halt complications if these key nutrients remain low.
Precisely. There's a pressing need for a more comprehensive approach. Addressing these deficiencies can be part of a natural strategy to manage or improve type 2 diabetes outcomes. One step is considering how to reduce or carefully monitor the use of metformin, especially if it's contributing to vitamin B12 deficiency. If a person needs metformin, they should ensure they're aware of their B12 status. Lifestyle improvements may gradually reduce the need for this medication.
That leads us to some practical strategies. First, people might look at ways to step down or stop metformin usage in partnership with their health professional, assuming their diet and lifestyle changes can compensate. This is significant because the longer someone takes metformin, the greater the chance of developing B12 deficiency and the nerve issues that go with it. The underlying goal is to shift to a diet that avoids highly processed foods and focuses on nutrients.
Next, as you mentioned, ensuring adequate B12 intake is essential. High-quality animal foods such as eggs, raw grass-fed dairy, and ruminant meats are excellent sources of B12. If alcohol is part of someone's routine, they may want to reduce it, because alcohol further impairs B12 absorption and increases oxidative stress. Simple measures like this can help people maintain more robust B12 levels.
Then there's vitamin D. Considering 60% of the diabetes patients in the study had a deficiency, boosting vitamin D should be a priority. Direct sunlight exposure is generally the best source, but it has to be approached sensibly. People with high levels of linoleic acid in their diet may need to be cautious about extended sun exposure until they've made dietary changes. Checking vitamin D levels regularly and aiming for an optimal range, often cited between 60 and 80 nanograms per milliliter, can make a substantial difference.
Absolutely. We also have magnesium to consider. With nearly 42% of diabetics deficient, supplementation is often necessary because the mineral content in our soils has declined, and even magnesium-rich foods might not provide enough. Magnesium glycinate and magnesium malate are often recommended because they're well absorbed. Balancing magnesium intake with a diet low in vegetable oils is key to reducing inflammation and improving insulin sensitivity.
Lastly, it's important to remove the root causes of nutrient deficiencies. That includes limiting or eliminating vegetable oils that are high in linoleic acid, which can turn toxic under certain conditions. It also involves being mindful of electromagnetic fields by limiting device usage where possible, especially during sleep, and by keeping Wi-Fi routers or phones at a distance. Many people don't realize these factors can interfere with mineral balance and add stress to the body.
Another factor is addressing gut health. If someone has a compromised microbiome, they might struggle to absorb nutrients effectively. Simple steps like introducing easily digestible carbs, such as fruit juice with pulp, or using dextrose water, can help restore the gut environment before introducing more complex carbohydrates. Reducing exposure to xenoestrogens, often found in plastics, is also relevant. Microplastics can leach endocrine-disrupting chemicals into the body, potentially raising diabetes risk.
So, to summarize, we've covered 5 key strategies to fix micronutrient deficiencies in the context of diabetes. Step 1. Consider reducing or monitoring metformin use to limit its impact on vitamin B12 absorption. Step 2. Increase vitamin B12 through high-quality animal foods. Step 3. Address vitamin D deficiency through sensible sun exposure and regular testing. Step 4. Boost magnesium levels by supplementing with forms like glycinate or malate. Finally, remove the root causes of deficiency by limiting vegetable oils, EMFs, gut health issues, and plastic-related toxins.
That's a solid framework for anyone looking to improve metabolic health and reduce the complications often associated with type 2 diabetes. While medication can help control blood sugar in the short term, these nutritional elements are critical for long-term well-being. By bringing attention to these deficiencies, we're shining a spotlight on aspects of diabetes care that too often go ignored or underappreciated.
There's a lot more to diabetes management than just balancing carbohydrate intake or counting calories. When people address micronutrient deficiencies, particularly vitamin D, magnesium, and vitamin B12, many find that their insulin sensitivity, energy levels, and overall health improve. It's a comprehensive approach that combines dietary adjustments, supplementation if necessary, and environmental awareness.
That's right. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming. A few informed steps can make a significant impact. Sometimes, simply knowing that these deficiencies are common in diabetes is half the battle. It prompts people to test their levels, explore supplementation, or adjust their diets accordingly. Over time, those changes can help stabilize blood sugar, support nerve function, and potentially minimize the complications associated with diabetes.
On that note, we'll wrap up this episode of Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. We appreciate everyone tuning in to learn about how micronutrient deficiencies contribute to type 2 diabetes. Remember that identifying and correcting deficiencies in vitamin D, magnesium, and vitamin B12 is an integral part of a more natural, holistic approach to metabolic health. I'm Ethan Foster.
And I'm Alara Sky. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to bringing you more insights on nutritional and lifestyle strategies for better health in our next discussion. Take care and stay informed.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and click the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.